Hey everyone, it is time for Old Roommates. This week on the show, we revisit Youngblood, starring Rob Lowe and Patrick Swayze, Cynthia Gibb, and probably some other... Oh, and Keanu Reeves in his first role. So, grab that hockey stick, give it a nice slap shot, sit down, and join.
Hey everybody! Welcome to Old Roommates, the only podcast that revisits pop culture through a middle-aged lens. This is Brian.
And this is Christina.
And we are talking about 1986 Youngblood. Yeah. We start, as we always do, with then Christina, Youngblood. When was the first time you saw this movie?
I saw this movie when I was in college. I actually have a pretty good memory of it. Usually these revisits, I'm thinking back, I don't know, like thinking, I don't know who I was with. I don't know what I was, where I watched it. This one I have a pretty good memory of because I was in college and my good friend Maggie, we were both really big hockey fans, believe it or not.
Wow.
I know, you probably don't even know that part of my life.
No.
I know, but I was a huge
Bruins
fan. I know, right? I was a huge Bruins fan, and she really loved Montreal. So we would watch games together and things like that. Not often. I mean, we were in college. We're not going to sit around watching hockey games. But we had that in common. And, of course, Rob Lowe, being in the 80s, he was just like this hot man from The Outsiders, a hot kid. We heard of this movie, and we watched it. We rented it. I think we rented it at a friend's house. So I remember watching this movie. And I have to say, I liked the movie, but I remembered Pinnacle. I remember basically what it was about and Pinnacle moments. But I really think we just basically watched it because of Rob Lowe being like this hot man. And I remember really loving Patrick Swayze in this movie. And this might have been probably one of my first introductions to Patrick Swayze. Because it was before Dirty Dancing.
Before Dirty Dancing, after The Outsiders. The Outsiders.
Yes, because he was in the was in The Outsiders with Rob Lowe. Yes, that's right. So probably my second. But he had a pretty minor role in The Outsiders.
Did you ever see Red Dawn?
No.
No, okay.
No. So was that beforehand?
That was before, I believe that's before Youngblood. I want to say that was 84, and that's with Jennifer Grey.
Sure. It's so funny. It's all very incestuous sort of situation going on here. So anyway, but I remember liking it. Liking it. Not loving it, but liking it probably mostly because of who was in it.
Yeah.
What about you, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I was not a hockey fan, but I think this falls under... So in 86, I was 13, 14, and my guess is I probably saw this on HBO. I feel like this was on HBO all the time when it hit cable, so I guess I was a little older than that. It's probably 15, 16, I guess. I don't know. And but I remember this because it was like... I think, didn't HBO used to, air R-rated movies after a certain time? I feel like that's true. Do you remember,
Yes, I think you're right.
In the beginning of HBO, I feel like they wouldn't show anything R.
I think it was, after 8. Yeah, I think you're right.
And so I feel like this was one of those things where... And by the way, this director, Peter Markle... He wrote it and directed it. He also did Hot Dog, the movie.
Oh my gosh.
I know. So that was one of those things where, when you're younger, and I feel like a kid from Porky's, you want to see, butts and boobs, and you watch HBO after certain hours. And with this, you see Rob Lowe's butt a bunch of times. Exactly what you said. I remember certain scenes very vividly. I absolutely remember the... totally bizarre sex scene, which we'll get to, with the water bottle. I remember... You're
making it sound much dirtier than it is.
I remember Patrick Swayze being, almost killed on the ice. And I remember Rob Lowe's butt very, very well.
Yes.
So, and Cynthia Gibbs' boobs, because I don't remember what she had done before, but I remember it was a big deal that she showed her boobs.
She was,
Was she in Fame, the TV show?
She was in Fame, that's exactly right. She was in Fame. She was in a lot of things. She was in Short Circuit. She was pretty hot. not hot.
She was in Short Circuit?
Or maybe it was Short Circuit 2. I don't know. She was in one of them.
Well, Ali Sheedy's in part 1.
She's probably in the second one, but
I thought she was too big of a star to do that. I remember being surprised. I remember being old enough to be surprised Cynthia Gibb was showing her boobs.
Right, because she was very popular.
Yeah.
She was like kind of like an it girl back then.
She didn't have to cheapen herself.
No, she didn't.
For Youngblood.
No, she didn't. No, she didn't.
So that was my whole take. Back then, I have not seen this movie in decades.
Well, it would be very hard-pressed to be able to see this. So Brian and I had quite a hard time finding this movie. It's nowhere to be found. It's not on anywhere of the venues that we would normally go to. I was able to find it at my library. I believe you found it at your library as well.
It's not even on iTunes. It's not. You can't rent it.
Right. I mean, there was like one copy at my library, and it took like forever to get it.
Well,
so it was...
Christina, mine's even worse. There was one copy. It took forever to get, and this thing had like never been played. It was like it was like mint condition. The case was beautiful.
Oh my god! Mine was not that.
I'm like, we were the only people that even remember this movie.
But crazy, right? It was like really. I was surprised at how difficult it was to get this movie because yes, it. I don't know. I kind of disagree with that. I feel like anytime, and maybe it's just the name of it is familiar. Yeah. But I feel like if you mention Youngblood, like I think
everyone knows what
that is.
Yeah, it's just strange. It is not.
But it's maybe not a movie that you watch more than once.
Yeah, I mean, there's something. Should we dive into now?
Sure.
Because right at the bat, it is very 80s.
Oh my gosh, it's so 80s. Okay.
The music, so it begins. We're not going to go, scene by scene, but it's like it just begins so 80s. Mm-hmm. I mean, like from like the fonts of the graphics. Oh God! Immediately,
the first thing I write, aside from like the stars and stuff,
I'm trying to
80s music.
Oh,
exclamation point! That's all I wrote.
I wrote Miami Vice on ice. Miami Ice.
That's beautiful. I love that.
But it's the steamiest ice ever for starters, right? It's at night, and Rob Lowe is just practicing, and the music is, by the way, William Orbit. Mm-hmm. Whose name may sound familiar. He is like, I mean, he's still quite something. He did a lot of Madonna collaborations. Maybe the most popular one. I'm not a music person, but the whole Ray of Light album that Madonna did, it is him. So he's a very, very well-known man. I mean, just the name William Orbit, it sounded familiar, so I Googled him. But it's all him. Yeah. But this sounds... You could switch this out. You could play this for Crockett and Tubbs, and it would feel right at home. Like, there does not... Nothing about this score feels like a sports movie.
No, not at all.
At times, it sounds like a horror movie.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like a synthy... crazy horror movie at times.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that for sure. But you're right. Yeah, that's really funny. It's kind of billed as a sports movie, but it's really more an 80s movie. In a lot of ways.
Just dive in. The first word I have right here is racism. The racism is palpable and completely unchecked, and I've never heard or seen Canadian racism before.
Right?
I didn't know that was a thing. Like, they're truly anti-Canadians.
Yes.
I was blown away.
Yeah.
I certainly don't remember that from like
However, I will say
16.
I can understand it in that hockey arena.
For sure.
Do you know what I mean? And this is a hockey kind of movie, right? I mean, obviously a hockey movie. So I can understand it because Montreal was always just sort of like the team to beat. They were like the Patriots now.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean? So people hated Montreal just because they were just really good and all that kind of stuff. So I wasn't as blown away by that because it was in the hockey kind of arena. It's not necessarily we hate Canada as a country. Yeah. It's we hate, Montreal because of their hockey. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yes. Same conversation, they throw in Mexicans into that. Do you remember the conversation I'm talking about? I didn't write down actual dialogue, but then later on, in another scene, they talk about, thank God there's still a sport for stocky white boys.
Patrick Swayze says that.
So this is something that did not age well.
Right.
And it's like Canadian racism, Mexican racism, black racism. I mean, it's like, it is just wild. And again, the only reason I bring that up is because it really doesn't age well. It's like kind of glaring to me. Mm-hmm. I understand your point about Canada and hockey, but it goes completely unchecked. I mean, there's not even a character that ever says, "Hey guys."
Right.
There's not even a non-white person in these scenes.
There is no white. No, there is non-white. Yeah. But I will say it is a very hockey thing. Okay. It is, especially in the 80s.
Yeah. This is in the context of Youngblood.
Yes, in the context of Youngblood. But I remember having like a conversation being like, you don't typically see other races in hockey.
Yeah.
And someone had said it was
really quick. This is some years ago at my grandparents' house. We were watching an old home video, and my cousin Lauren was dating a black girl, which is only noteworthy for what I'm about to say.
Sure.
So we're like, "What? Let's watch home movies, you guys!" And it's like, "Oh shit!" Because we're sitting there, and the thing is, my grandparents like old school Italians, and I mean, like they. Like, my mom is an angel, and, like, she always taught me, like, you love everyone.
Yes.
And this, whatever. It's, and we were watching this home video, and it was from, I'm thinking I want to say maybe early 80s.
Okay.
And there was a conversation in the background, but you can hear it clear as day, of my uncle and my grandfather saying, "So what's your take on all these black guys getting into the, and all these, all the basketball teams and da-da-da-da."
Oh, my gosh.
And it was a positive, they were like, they were great, sure, great, we're winning, like, that's what it boiled down. And I think that's where the sports thing is exactly what we're talking about. It's like racism in this context is so messed up, because it's like, it's like we're just these pathetic white guys,
right,
that just want to win at one sport.
Exactly. That's exactly what the point was. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I understood I understood why that line was in that movie.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
And again,
and it is. I agree. It doesn't age well.
What else? Okay, so so this is a great 80s moment. This movie is so 80s. So
it's so 80s.
There's a quick scene with his brother, Rob Lowe, and his brother in the movie. Mm-hmm. And this is such an 80s thing, and I don't even know if you picked up on it. It happens in Greece. It happens in probably every other 70s or 80s, mostly 80s movies, where they have this sort of like uncomfortable conversation.
Yes.
Like it's not going well. It's just bad, but one of the characters really means well. And they end it sort of abruptly. Mm-hmm. And one character leaves the room. But then they stop. Do you know where this is going? And they turn around and they go, "Hey." The guy's like, "Yeah. Thanks." It's so 80s.
It's one of the most annoying things.
It's like, I just disagreed with everything you said. But thanks. I know you're offering me help.
It's very much, and then it very much reminds me of that Pepsi commercial, right? Or was it Coke? Oh God, of the athlete in the hallway catching the towel.
Right. Yeah. And
he stops.
Hey,
thanks.
Hey, kid. No,
that was kids.
Catch.
Oh, that's right. Catch. Oh my gosh. But yes, very 80s. Lots of very 80s kinds of moments. So overall, I think I kind of liked this movie.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Watching it, believe it or not. But only because it was nostalgic.
Okay.
Like, if I turned this on today without watching it before, I would be like, oh my gosh, this is like an after-school special. But I honestly enjoyed, like, all the 80s references. I enjoyed, like, kind of, like, getting transported back into time with the music and all that kind of stuff. But I will say, like, some of the things just made me very uncomfortable. The hazing I have here as, like, a very uncomfortable moment when he shows up and he's a part of this team now and all the guys, like, jump him and basically shave his privates.
Yeah.
That's, like, really uncomfortable. But they were all, like, laughing about it. And even he was just like, oh, you're just part of being hazed.
Yeah.
I don't remember that from before.
So I found many scenes, and everyone will be shocked to hear this, but I found a lot of this very homoerotic. Like, it's a lot of, like, toxic masculinity and, like, holding Rob Lowe down to shave his balls and his cry. I mean, like, it's really interesting. It's an interesting way because, like, I'm like, wait, I'm the fag? I mean, like, you're like...
Well, and you wonder,
let's
does this
hold
happen?
them down. I mean,
Does this actually happen in like?
So I won't say when we went to high school, but I often heard stories of like certain sports teams doing far worse than that.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Scary.
Yeah. Oh, so things in the back of like the bus on the way to a sports meet,
and
like,
that's supposed to prove that you're manly.
Manly, yeah.
Was that like the whole?
Yeah,
point
it
of
was like it's not suitable.
It's crazy.
Not suitable for this juncture, but yeah, it's often involves.
So, and there were a few
Private
things
parts.
that. So, and I feel like the whole purpose of some of these things. So there was the whole like the woman that is the boarder, right? And that whole
Ms. McGill,
Finola Flanagan.
Yeah, God bless.
Who's actually was I don't know if you looked her up at all. She was actually kind of accomplished. She's had a ton of Emmy nominations, not for this movie.
Yeah.
But like I forget what she was in. She was in like I think Ned Flanders or Ned Devine maybe. Ned Devine.
Waking Ned Devine.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was in that. She's been in quite a few different things.
Yeah.
But so she basically, you know, when he gets there, she brings him tea and has sex with him. And he does not say no. So I don't consider it like a rapey kind of thing. Mm-hmm. She just basically takes her clothes off and has sex with him. And he's like, okay. And then there's another scene, and I'm getting to a point here.
Okay.
There's another scene where they're all drinking and having, you know, tequila, and they're not drinking. Although I don't know how they have all this money for all the drinks. Have you thought about this?
Oh, that's
okay.
Big note in my notes.
Yes. So they're drinking and, you know, they're making him get drunk. Okay.
Explain that. So because they are getting rounds of tequila shots over and over and over, but they're not drinking theirs. They're throwing theirs over their shoulder.
Right.
Why, if he's that drunk, why wouldn't he just fill them with water? Like, why are you wasting tequila?
Right. I know. It's a strange scene, one that I had remembered. But here's my thing. Yeah. With those three scenarios, I feel like this was all just a big setup of, you're in the big leagues now, kid. And this is, you know, kind of tough learning. Which I thought was kind of odd. Like, I didn't know why they were doing all of these things. Like, I think one hazing would have been enough. Maybe. I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
Kristen, I have exactly the same note. Okay. So here's the thing, and I wrote challenges because I disagree with you a bit. I didn't really enjoy this.
Okay.
But I just wrote challenges. I said we don't get the sense of life on the farm for Dean. Mm-hmm. Like, it truly starts out. I honestly, the father in this movie is so like asleep at the wheel. He he's a hockey player actually. Not a single line reading is said with any emotion at all. But we don't get the sense of life on the farm for Dean. So he comes from the farm, he goes to like, I guess not even a big city, just into hockey. Mm-hmm. And I wrote the same thing. I said, so it's like his reactions, like these big city, I put in quotes, big city realizations are a bit exaggerated. So like, really? So you have Ms. McGill, you have the tequila shots, you have the tough guy hazing, and then I wrote sex with Ms. McGill. And it's like, and then you have he's in the bookstore with the Nympho book and all this, and it's like,
that was weird.
I don't understand like how closed off he was on the farm, because it starts off with him playing hockey, and then so it's like, oh, he's already playing hockey, and then they show him like at a dinner table, like a very quiet dinner table with him and his brother and his dad, and it's just like, I don't want to work on a farm my whole life. And that's how it starts. And you're like, wait, what does this even mean? Like, what is your farm life like? And you don't see that until towards the end with the chickens. Which is
so ridiculous.
Yeah. He gets angry at the chickens than he does at, like, the guy that almost killed his friend. But I digress.
Right. And I feel like it was so much more like, I just want to play hockey. It didn't really have much to do with the farm. Like, he did say, I don't want to be on the farm my whole life. Do you have any other options? Like, I mean, there's other things. So it was just weird.
I never got the sense of like sadness or boredom about the farm, because we've only at that point seen him play hockey. So it was I think it was a sort of a missed opportunity on the movie's part.
Like almost like a missing scene of some sort. Yeah.
So now Ms. McGill.
I
I thought you were going to mention her statutory rape streak. because you find, so, you know, he's 17.
Yes.
Keanu Reeves cannot be older than that.
No, they were all...
But they're all sitting on a table talking about how they've all had a turn with Ms. McGill.
Yeah, that's like what she does.
It's what she does,
basically has sex.
And they're saying it like it's like a big treat.
That's right. I forgot about the 17 part, but yeah.
So she is a statutory rapist, or a rapist. And I just wrote, like, if the teacups rockin', don't come knocking. Because, like, they focused on the rattling teacup. It's just, ugh.
Yeah,
I
it
did
was
write
very strange.
Blanche the early years, but in reality, she's probably older than Blanche, now that I think about that.
Probably, yeah.
The,
probably.
I did write, I said, where are the guys from Porky's? Ms. McGill would love them.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, I had a real issue with Ms. McGill. I didn't know,
I don't know why.
was that part of the deal? Was that part of the rent? Was it part of,
was it supposed to be a comedic relief?
That's how I felt. I felt like it was almost like something that belonged in like Porky's. Truly.
Yeah. A funny Porky's.
A funny. Oh yeah,
I
true.
talked
Yeah,
about
that was
that.
even. Well, that was barely funny.
Maybe that would have made it funnier. But yeah, it was just a little bit oddly placed. Like it wasn't necessary. You could have had just like a quirky woman living there. You didn't have to have her be someone that just has sex with everybody that lives there.
Mm-hmm.
It was just weird.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it was just more of an 80s kind of like, it's an R-rated movie. Let's throw some sex in there.
Yeah, but you don't see, in that scene, you don't see anything. Right?
No, but it's like the, you know.
The squeaky bed.
You
see him shirtless. What?
It's just like not necessarily seeing the nudity, but like, it's an R-rated movie, so let's have her
be sexual. Yeah, okay. Can I start a new chapter?
Yes, definitely.
The coach. So I struggled with that performance a lot. Mm-hmm. I found that like he was just like a blowhard. Like it was like, you want to go back to the mines and the farms? No, sorry, the mills. Not the mines. He was like, the mills and the farms. And he's just like yelling. And I swear to God, I wrote, there's actually three. I'll give you two.
Okay.
One, he says, you're all a bunch of losers. But 10 seconds later, we're a family.
Losers.
And then later on, so stuff happens. It's sort of the end of the movie. Rob Lowe comes back. He leaves the team in a huff. He comes back, and the coach says, you think it's that easy, huh? You think you're coming back here? 10 seconds later.
Welcome back.
Go suit up. So it's like, it was very easy. It's just a blowhard. It just felt like, whatever. But I do think something else. I do think he had a drinking problem. Did you feel that, or am I alone in that?
I didn't. No,
he was singing, like he was often sometimes stumbling around.
He had the drinking, that one scene where he was, but was there other scenes?
Well, he leaves the liquor store with a box of booze.
Okay.
Later on, he's singing to himself and dancing down the hall. He has these weird streaks of like depression and then like total drunken happiness.
Yeah.
I was waiting. I was like, oh God. Because at one point I checked the time on this movie because I'm like, doesn't he have to deal with his drinking problem?
Right. But no, he didn't, because
doesn't.
This movie is all about hockey.
That's right.
This is all about hockey.
Not alcoholism, not racism.
And so his performance to me, I feel like his performance is almost everybody's performance in the movie. It was just not well written, like this character, because he's supposed to be like this big tough coach, okay? And then you hear little things about him, but it never goes too deep. Like you find out he was a hockey player, okay? And then he's the father of this girl, right? And so you think that there's going to be like a big blowout there, but there's never any blowout about him dating the daughter. There's one scene where he gets benched. But there's never any reconciliation from that. There's never any... You never go back turned around about that. Like, nobody really cares at that point. Like, he doesn't care. She doesn't care. There was a scene saying, well, I'm going to, be in trouble for it anyway. I might as well ask you out. And she says, why would I go out with you? And he's like, well, because your father doesn't want you to. And she's like, that's actually a pretty good idea. You know, like, that's a good reason.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only conversation they have about her dating him to get the father mad, and then you never see the father mad. It's like a weird kind of arc that's not really realized.
There's a cut scene, because I did some research.
Oh, there is a cut scene. Okay. That makes more sense then. Okay.
After Rob Lowe, like, gets sort of punched by, what's his name?
Was it Racky?
Racky? She gets really upset, and she runs into the what's the room that she goes to? Jesus Christ. The Zamboni room. And the father runs after her, and apparently they have this big conversation and this reconciliation, and the director cut it, and he said he regrets it because the acting was very strong in that scene. Like, sure.
Well, that was probably the only... No, I'm just
well,
kidding.
Jesus. Well, no. So I struggled with Cynthia Gibb because she starts off very playful and cute and flirty, and I actually was like, oh, wow, she's like a strong character.
I wrote that too.
I liked her. Like, the bookstore thing, she was like totally in control. When she sees him in the hall,
yep.
I actually thought she was a bit older than him at first, just because of that scene. But I was like, oh no, she's just like she's like a self-realized gal. She's been around these hockey players. This is not a foreign world to her.
Right.
She knows how these guys operate.
And what I liked about her, and I know you have a point, but what I liked about her is that she was real about it. Like, I was thinking about, like, in Footloose, with that relationship with Ren and, what's her face? Ariel.
Yeah.
And how odd that relationship was, because she was, like, over the top, like, you know, jumping, rebelling, and just, like, not realistic. Whereas Jessie, was... I thought she was very realistic in that, especially those beginning scenes. She was, like, tough, but she wasn't like, you know, I'm going to jump on a car kind of tough. She was like a normal girl tough.
Jump on a car.
So I appreciated that at the beginning, but it does fall flat for me later. And go ahead, I know you have a point.
Yeah, I think I'll probably say the same thing, because later on, she gets into a fight with Rob Lowe's character when he's looking to leave. And something goes off the rails with her acting. Like, in her... And maybe it's not even her acting, it's like her character.
I think it's her character.
There's, like, a break where it's like, she is suddenly, like, screeching. And she's, like, hitting. I wrote she's very physical and theatrical. And I wrote violent. She's very loud. And it's like, it's like, this is not the same character to me.
It's not the same character. And what killed me about that scene, too, is, first of all, it's ironic that she's hitting him and she's pissed because he's fighting.
That's right.
Like, that's the reason why she's mad.
That's right.
So that was weird to me. But also, she has grown up since she was a little child around hockey. Like you said, she's very, you know, she's used to being around them. She knows how it is. So how is she surprised that fighting is a part of this game? Fighting is just as much a part of this game, especially in the 80s. I don't know how it is now. I haven't followed it in a long time. But in the 80s, fighting was just as much a part of the game that it was the actual game. It was a part of it. It was a huge part of it. So for her to be like, I don't want you to fight. Like, what are you talking about? This is part of it. Why are you surprised? Why are you telling him not to fight? I don't understand that whole part of it. It wasn't the same character that you met at the beginning of the movie.
Completely agree. Yeah, so Christine, you just touched upon something that... See, I'm not a hockey person at all. I never was. And I wrote, rule number 1 of hockey, beat the hell out of someone first, then hit the puck. I wonder, you must have more information on this, just from what you just said, but the consistency, like, they let the play... It seems like they let the players, like, pulverize each other with little interference.
Okay, so I will say there's a lot more fighting in this movie than I've ever seen in any game. Okay? I'll just put that out there. It's usually not every single person on the team fighting. It's usually like, you know, maybe 2 people fighting or whatever. Yeah. And I do remember there was a little bit more, you know, structure to it. There was a little more rules. Certainly more now, I think. Again, I don't follow it now. Back then, it was part of the game. You had to be able to learn how to, you know, fight. You had to figure out, you know, because there's a lot of there's checking against the wall and, you know, all that stuff. That's part of the game, just pushing people out of the way and all that kind of stuff. You know, I remember a big part of it was, I thought it was kind of funny that they taught this in the movie. So we'll talk about this too, but you know, a lot of it, I remember in the 80s watching these games, and I had learned that if there is blood, that's when the other person gets, like, penalized or whatever. And I remember there was, like, controversy, like, you know, someone would get knocked on the ground, and then they'd, like, purposely bite their lip and, like kind of spit blood out, just so you saw blood, so that the other person, like, there was a big, like, the fighting part was a big part of this game. And I remember even seeing, like, some of these fights, and, like, the big thing was to get the jersey over the head, because then the person cannot fight. Yeah. So I'm, like, watching this movie, and I remember thinking, like, doesn't he know? Why is this, like, a new thing? Like, oh, get the jersey over the head. So, and I have a big thing about the fighting with Dean, and this is, like, a big part of the movie. So if you want to jump in at this point, you can.
Oh. So I just wrote, like, this is one thing. It's like, it was just more. I think it was almost more fighting than hockey to me. Like, if you were to break it down in minutes. But just my note is, like, I don't think the fighting. I thought the fighting was done pretty effectively. But I just wrote, like, if you want to make that movie, make that movie. If you want to do, like, an extreme hockey movie where it's like people have sticks and they're just beating the hell out of each other on the ice, make that movie. Make, like, a Mad Max-ish type, post-apocalyptic hockey movie. But I didn't really remember this being young. Like, I didn't remember all that fighting. Or at least it didn't stick out to me as much as it does at my current age. But you know what it was? It was like, when we watch these old movies, especially an 80s sports movie, I'm expecting to hear the lesson. I'm expecting to hear about sportsmanship and the importance of honor and da-da-da-da. But I'm like, oh, it's one of those 80s movies. It's like Rocky 3. Like, someone has to die.
It's a Rocky.
It's like, someone gets injured and dies. Sure. It's like Rocky 3. I mean, even Karate Kid, being like the idea of being pulverized or illegal hits and all that.
Right.
Ice Castles, where she skates over the roses, and you know, I mean, it's like, but it was like, there was that whole genre of 80s movies where it's like, oh, it's a sports movie, someone needs to almost die.
Yes, that's part of it for sure. But what killed me about that is, like, I had a problem with Rob Lowe being a hockey player his whole life.
Yeah.
His family, his brother was a hockey player. Yeah. His father was a hockey player. Surrounded by hockey his whole life.
Yeah.
And then going to whatever tryout for this team.
Yeah.
And now he's realizing he has to learn how to fight.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand how disconnected he was from that. He's been doing this his whole life. And it says something, I wrote it down, that he's been doing this since 6 years old.
Well, there's the whole thing in the beginning, right, where he's skating as a little kid.
Yes.
And he gets the goal in, and the kid gets mad and knocks him on the ice, and then his older brother comes along and...
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's what it is. He's been trying to beat the shit out of him more. But I'm like, but why hasn't he learned how to fight?
I don't know.
In his whole life.
Yeah.
Why has his brother not taught him how to fight? And then I understand, like, at the end, like, his father does eventually come to help him after all of this stuff went down. Mm-hmm. And he actually says, why didn't you help me before? And he says, because I didn't want another son hurt. Well, that's fine. I get that. But if you don't want him to get hurt, shouldn't you teach him how to defend himself?
Right.
Like, shouldn't you teach him how to...
There's a way to teach your kid to...
Like, it just didn't make any sense, especially with the brother.
Self-defense.
Especially with the brother. He goes through all this life, and then he comes back, and now he has what... And that's the other thing, too. Like, how much time has passed between leaving the team and then going back to the coach saying, I want to go back on? Yeah. How much time has passed?
2 weeks? A week?
So in this time, he's turning into Rocky, basically, right? He's learning how to punch a punching bag. Like, that whole part of it was, like, so bizarre to me that now he's teaching him how to, like, hit a punching bag and run and work out and lift weights. Like, in 2 weeks, he's turning into, like, this buff muscle man who can kick the shit out of this guy that's
that was my
4 times his size.
I know. Who looks about 35 years old.
Years old. It was just weird to me that, like, I wish they had approached it a different way. that maybe, I don't know, maybe just the fighting dirty or something. I don't know what it was, but it was weird to me that he never was taught how to fight. And he seemed clueless that he was supposed to be able to fight.
That's the part for me. That's the part. Because, so to be honest, at that point I was like kind of waiting for it to be over. Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, I know where this is going. I mean, kind of knew where it was going early on, but like, but it was like, oh yeah, we need the montage of Rob Lowe. And this director, Peter Markle, I mean, I don't know his story. I know he's a hockey player. And, or was. And, I mean, there's probably 3 whole minutes of this movie where Rob Lowe is not soaking wet. Right? For me, there's sweat, rain, the working out scenes, but and then I'm like, he's always wet.
He's always
wet and steaming.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, we have to have the Rob Lowe working out montage, which fine, but like it doesn't make a lot of sense. And I was stuck on the timeline too, because I was like, but isn't the game like now?
Right. I'm like, what's going on? Like, how much time does he have to learn how to fight?
And is that even allowed if he quits the team? Like, I know there's like batting out of order. Doesn't hockey have certain rules?
Like, they should have him on the roster or something?
Yeah, like, no, you have to participate in this many games or you can't get whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot of holes. Lots and lots of holes.
I wrote the charming scene where Dad is helping Dean by hitting him, pushing him.
Yeah.
Let's see.
But yeah, that's where he taught him how to get the jersey up over his head. Like, really? You never figured that out? Like, are you like the dumbest hockey player ever?
I remember, well, let's talk about his brother really quick. His brother has an amazing bit of dialogue.
Okay.
Patrick Swayze, I remember that scene like it was yesterday. Did you? The attack on Patrick Swayze?
100%.
Oh my God.
100%.
It hurt then, it hurt now.
It was like I got the pit in my stomach as he's approaching behind him. I'm like, oh no, no.
And also, is that not illegal? I mean, forget like against...
Oh, it's totally illegal.
Forget like against hockey rules, but like, is there not like a code of like the law? Like, if you walk up to someone and hit them in the back... Or throw them down and hit them back in the head with a stick, or pull them back so they slam their head on the ice. That's like illegal. I mean, I don't know, but anyway. So I'll let you say. So then, Rob Lowe is upset and he goes home, and he's having a fight with his brother, and he's like, Dean says, "My friend's half dead." His brother, without missing a beat, "I don't care if he's all the way dead." Not only did I laugh out loud, I paused it, rewound it, and watched it again. God.
Yeah, that was really classic.
And it was classic. And by the way, not a joke. It was said for drama. Yeah, it was drama.
That was bad. Yeah, that was really bad. Although I did like the brother. I did like him.
As what? Like an actor? Or
I mean, I liked him as a character. Mm-hmm. I liked him as a character. I mean... I didn't love him, but I liked him. I liked him better than I liked, some of like the teammates and things like that. Like, I just felt like it was sort of a real relationship between the two of them. Mm-hmm. I don't know. He kind of had his back. Although the first, like, it was kind of weird. Like, at first he's like saying he's going to come back here with a tail between his legs. And then later he said, "I was just kidding about that." Like, what are you talking about? But I did kind of I liked that he was just kind of yelling at him, being like, "You got to get back there. You got to get back there." And now I'll teach you how to fight.
Yeah.
It was weird. Very weird.
Issues. Like, how does someone get
that far? He had some good points. He had some good points. Like,
God, I didn't even have this note, and that just reminded me. When he's talking to the little kids, and the little kids, he's like, "Hey, how many..." Rob Lowe's like, "How many goals did you score?" The kid's like, "None." He's like, "None?" He's like, "I'm a goalie." He's like, "Oh." And he like turns and talks to the other kids. I'm like, a goalie's important. By the way, Keanu Reeves was known as the Wall in real life on his, I guess, high school hockey team. Mm-hmm. And he was a goalie.
Interesting. Well, you could tell he was a hockey player. You could tell when you were looking at him with the drills and stuff.
Yeah.
He was really good.
I didn't even really...
I was fascinated by Keanu Reeves. I forgot he was in it.
I like the drill stuff. That's a plus. I like the drill stuff when they're crawling on the ice and like that. Yep. That was that looked intense, and I thought that was directed very well and done very well.
I thought so too. But I liked Keanu Reeves a lot. This was his first full-length movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
he had one, like, short film beforehand. But I remember, like, he was just, like wicked cute. I remember, like, I'm not, like, a huge fan from him now. I don't really follow him now. But, like, I remember just being, like, he was so cute.
He's good. I like Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, I do. I
think it's
like
him. I mean, I think he's just, and you know, maybe to his detriment a little bit in the 80s. I think he played so many sort of airhead characters that you get confused as to what he might really be like in person. But I think he's, but I actually have become like a fan of him. Like I thought he was so good in like, I mean, even like 90s like Point Break and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But speaking of Swayze and Keanu and Point Break.
Oh my God, that's right. Yes, that's right.
There's that.
That's right.
Should we take a little break?
Yes, let's take a little break.
Right.
I don't even know if I've looked at my notes that much.
We'll be back.
We'll be back.
Hey there, it's Brian and Christina. We just wanted to take this break to thank you for listening to Old Roommates, the only podcast that revisits pulp culture through a middle-aged lens. Please subscribe to Old Roommates on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts. And give us a rating or review while you're there.
And if you have any questions, comments, or observations, shoot us an email at oldroommatespod@gmail.com. And follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Old Roommates. Thanks for listening, and now, back to the show. And we're back, talking about Youngblood, the 1986 hockey film starring Keanu Reeves. Oops, Rob Lowe, Keanu Reeves, Patrick Swayze.
Yeah. Boy, Keanu just took top billing in this one. No. They're all just so adorable.
All just so great.
And Patrick Swayze was really hot in this, too.
Oh, my God. Well,
I think this is when I started really loving Patrick Swayze.
He really, I mean, he's a man in this movie.
He is a man, and he's I liked his personality.
Yeah,
like he was
he's very sexy.
Like, you're not, wicked sexy. Yeah. And then you're not sure if he's kind of a bully, but he's actually a good friend. Yeah. You know, like, he's just like a normal guy. It's like, oh, yeah.
Very lived-in performance. He's so he's made
so natural.
When you look at that filmography, I mean, like, I really do feel like there's so few. Do I mean this? Yes. I know there's so few, like, male actors that have that sort of natural masculinity.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
he just needs to walk in the room.
Yeah, he's just like
yep.
Like a man.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, I'll compare it to, like, say, like a Kevin Costner or something like that. But it's like, I feel like where most are like little boys to me.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know.
I honestly, you might not agree with me on this one, but I also feel like Kurt Russell is the same way.
I agree. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the same way. You walk in and he's like, that's a man.
Yeah. Which is funny because
he was probably a man at 7 years old.
Their hair is like feathered.
They're actually very similar. Yeah,
that's true.
That's so funny.
Let's see. So the sex scene which I toyed with in the beginning.
You did.
So I remember that sex scene very vividly. You saw Rob Lowe's butt, you saw her butt, you saw her boobs. Being a grown man now, I think if I were ever in my past, in my future with with Carl, like, I mean, the water bottle.
Oh my God! Please
don't
so
ever
uncomfortable.
do that. Where are you
going to sleep?
That is exactly what I was like. Where's he going to sleep now?
Oh my gosh,
the bed
it's so
is
true.
soaking wet.
It's soaking
wet.
Why would he even do it in the first place? Grab the water bottle and just pour it over himself. And then she's like, that's so funny. And then he pours it on her. And then they're like, and for the longest time, like, how long, even if you're doing this as like a playful thing, like, how long are you going to be doing this for?
Squirting this like water bottle at each other, like post-coital water bottle spraying. Like, his bed is soaked. Like, where
are you going to
And then Ms. McGill thinks, what does she think? She thinks she's gonna have sex with him?
I don't know what's happening there. I don't know what she was.
She
was planning on it. Of course, she was planning because that's the tea is the giveaway.
Yeah, that's right.
And then she just leaves it, and they look up, and they don't think it's odd, and she just walks out.
And they just start laughing.
And they start laughing. And then they go back to squirting each other with the water bottle.
So crazy.
And then go to sleep in this sopping wet bed. So sexy.
That's when our middle-aged lens.
That is such a middle-aged lens.
Through.
It's like, ew, no. It's like, honestly, I don't even want to sleep in the wet spot, to be honest.
My God. Well, Rob Lowe. Okay, Christina, you can sleep with Rob Lowe, but you have to stay in bed the whole time after a water bottle fight.
All set, thanks.
So that's actually. Oh no! I have a bit of trivia.
Okay.
Really quick.
And I have a couple more things to add.
Oh, go for it, please.
So I just wanted to mention. Did you notice? So it's funny. I don't know if you do this now that we've had 80 some episodes under our belts. Sometimes I'm watching these and I have some comparisons to other 80s movies that we've revisited already. So we already talked about the Footloose reference with those two. The other thing I noticed too was, did you catch that the mom left him?
No.
Just like in Pretty in Pink. Because Cynthia Gibbs' character is like, so, where's your mom? And he's like, oh, she left us, 4 years ago or whatever. Something. And then he said, I got something like I got over it, but my father never got over it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like just like Pretty in Pink.
Interesting.
Except again, it was just a sentence. Nothing was ever delved into. This is clearly just a hockey fighting movie. That's all it is.
It's so
all
weird.
These little other things that are kind of thrown in there just didn't really hold water at all.
But also is that supposed to bond them? It's like both their moms took off.
It could, but they didn't.
There's
do anything,
never.
It was not even a sentence to bond them about it.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if it was sort of like an 80s theme in movies where the moms left the families.
I don't know.
It's weird, right?
Yeah. It's a very Disney thing.
It is a very Disney thing.
Moms dying.
Moms are always missing
in
Disney movies. So, and the other thing is, I thought something that they really dropped the ball or the puck at the end of this movie is this whole thing with Derek. Derek is, aside from that last scene with him in the locker room.
Yeah.
Right? And he says, I've never watched a hockey game in my life, which I don't believe, but that's fine. That's the last time we see Derek.
Derek is Patrick Swayze.
Mm-hmm.
He has the bandage around his head.
Yep. That's the last time we see him. So Rob Lowe then goes out on the ice. Yeah. He wins the game. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
And then wants to fight him because that's really what it's all about is being able to stand up for yourself and, I'm doing it for Derek. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Where the fuck is Derek?
Yeah.
He's not in the crowd. He doesn't even reference him. This is all about doing this for Derek. It was weird. They should have had him, even if he didn't want to be in the crowd and reference him, watch the game. That's fine.
Shit, they don't show him?
Not once.
Oh my God.
Not once. Even if they don't want to have him in the crowd.
Yeah.
How about at the end? How about an attaboy? Well, how about a thanks?
Listening to it on the radio, for God's sake.
Any kind of reaction from Derek to close that loop.
Yeah.
I mean...
They weren't thinking.
I don't understand why they disappeared. Was he not available for filming that day? It was weird to me. It was so weird. I was waiting and waiting for Derek to reemerge because honestly he was the highlight of the whole movie for me.
Interesting.
Yeah, very, very strange.
Unless it was just it was the principal. It didn't matter. But yeah, he's already there.
He's already there.
He's in the back.
He won
he's
the
in the
game.
locker room.
He was there. He was there.
Yeah.
He could have been standing in the doorway. He's never watched a game in his life. How about this? He's never watched a game in his life, right? Maybe okay, fine. Let's believe that. How about at the end you see that he's actually in the doorway watching the game that Rob Lowe is risking his life for?
Well... Maybe it just hurts him to watch a hockey game knowing he can't play.
Yeah, and that's fine. But they should have at least had a scene at the end.
I'm not defending Youngblood.
You are defending. And then the only other note was they have this big fight at the end, right? He and Racky. Without helmets. They take the helmets off. They take their helmets off. Have we learned nothing from Derek's injury?
I know.
Why do you need to take the helmets off to fight on the ice?
Because they're men, goddammit.
Oh my God. It was really crazy. And I thought it was really unrealistic that he won that fight.
No way in hell.
No way in hell.
Rocky is fucking crazy. And he's 38
crazy.
Years old.
He does not fight fair. The game is over. He probably wouldn't even get in trouble for anything that happened after this because the game is technically over. The only thing I wrote down as maybe a saving grace is maybe the whole lesson that we're trying to find here is that he can't win if it's a fair fight. He can only win in a fight if he fights dirty and sneaks up from behind or, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But, I mean, even that I'm grasping.
Yeah.
And the other thing is I thought it was funny when they kissed and he, winced. So I was glad that, at the end... I'm sorry, when he and Jesse kissed at the end, when...
Yeah,
Dean and Jesse kissed at the end, at the very, very end of the movie, last scene, and they go to kiss.
His teeth.
And he actually winced and they couldn't kiss. And I'm like, I'm so glad they did that. Thank God.
But you just reminded me, speaking of kiss, did you see when Patrick Swayze kisses the referee?
Yes!
I was like, that's a second, maybe a half second too long. But
I was here for it.
That was
really funny, yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
I was here for it.
All right, so and then the only little bit of trivia that I did look deeply, a lot of the people in this movie are actually hockey players.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
So good. And Swayze was not. He was a dancer and acclimated fairly well. Rob Lowe only started learning it for the movie. And there you have it. So, but the trivia is Patrick Swayze begged, according to Rob Lowe, on I think it was Joe Rogan's show. Patrick Swayze begged Rob Lowe and the director to include "She's Like the Wind."
Oh my gosh! Yeah. Oh my gosh!
And the director said didn't think it was right for a hockey movie, so he saved it for Dirty Dancing.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah. It's actually funny because I actually think it wouldn't have been a bad song for Youngblood.
No,
I mean, it was a
little
strange with all the synth music.
Yeah.
But but wind, hockey, skating, it would have worked. Who cares? So
on the Zamboni with the wind in her hair.
I have a question.
Okay.
It's a true match game.
Oh, okay, good.
Raki, who we've talked about, who put Patrick Swayze in the hospital. Raki is such a tough guy.
How tough is he?
Well, when he tells you he wants rough sex, he shows up with a blank.
Ooh.
I'm writing down my answer.
Oh boy, this is...
Oh God. This is really going to separate the men from the boys.
Absolutely, 100%. I stand by my answer.
All right, Rocky is such a tough guy.
How tough is he?
When he tells you he wants rough sex, he shows up with a blank.
The baseball bat.
Oh my God, Christina. So, no. I put hockey stick. I was like...
Yeah, but a baseball bat
I know, that's crazy. Yeah.
No, I agree. A hockey stick because he's a hockey player, but...
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what he always uses. All right, I have an FMK for you, and you're always complaining to me that I give you hard ones. This is the easiest one you'll ever get.
If one of them's that weird little elfin referee, I'm going to throw my notebook.
That would have been awesome. No, this is the easiest one I've ever given you, and you probably don't even need to think about it.
All right.
So I'm going to say Raki.
Okay.
Derek, played by Patrick Swayze, and Dean.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Easy peasy. Can never complain again.
Okay. We're killing Raki.
Yep.
And I'm effing Derek and marrying... Oh,
really?
Yeah. Because
I didn't think you'd want to marry someone so wimpy.
Well...
He wasn't very smart.
But he had a good heart. Patrick Swayze's character was a little too much, I think, a little too masculine for me. I think, it's a little too much. A little too,
I mean, not too much for me, but I could see that being him being too much for you.
And Dean's just he's nice and sweet and means well, and he's super cute.
He's very cute.
Cute butt.
And he aged,
Rob Lowe aged
well.
Rob Lowe and Youngblood has a big ass.
Yeah. Cynthia Gibb does too.
Yeah, she did too. Yeah, they both, actually, that was one...
Good ass work.
Good ass work.
For sure. No, I just felt like Dean... he was just too wimpy for me. He really was. Too little.
I only found him wimpy in the context of all these asshole macho, toxic masculinity white guys.
Yeah.
That was my thing. That's the only reason he seemed wimpy to me.
Interesting.
And who wants to, be married to one of those? I mean, also, they were so rude to those women. Ugh, I just felt bad for those women at the time.
Oh, they had such a... You know what? I agree.
Okay.
But they had really good senses of humor about it. Like, they were laughing along with it. You believed it.
So you believed that laughing. I thought it was nervous laughing to fit in. Like, when the guy puts the dentures in the Bloody Mary. Oh.
But, I think it was more like a drunk laughing.
Okay, all right.
But I believed it.
I had a different takeaway from that. But okay.
And it wasn't ever I thought they were having a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought they were having a good time.
Did we have a good time? So you liked it more, it sounds like. So,
yes, I liked it more, but only because of the nostalgia of it. Like, it was just kind of like going back there and having, like, just watching it. Although, I will say, so much hockey in this movie. Like, Matt actually said, he's like, he nailed it. He's like, I feel like we're watching a hockey game like real time.
Oh, wow.
Like, there's so much, and like the breaks and the periods, like there was a lot of hockey in this movie.
I mean, yeah. Most of it takes place on the ice. I would argue that there's as much fighting as hockey.
There's a lot of hockey. There's a lot of fighting, for sure. For sure.
But yeah, 50-50. a lot of this movie takes place on the ice. I mean, but even like the Zamboni, the Zamboni flirtation
Their
scene.
date, which was stupid. Their date, they went skating. Like, they needed to give that little a rest. It would have been better if they went somewhere else for their date.
Yeah.
But anyway, excuse me, I did like it a little bit better. Only because when I thought about it before, like, all I could think about was poor Patrick Swayze's head crashing into the ice.
That's right.
And I felt like there was a little bit more here that I could just enjoy a little bit. But it was a dumbish movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like it's a good movie. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody.
Yeah. I will say, I don't think any of the acting was particularly bad. I think the dad was like, I think that was like a weird casting choice.
Yes.
But I think for the most part, everyone was game. I think the performances were all fine.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it was like,
itself.
I just don't think, it just is such, and I don't say this too many times on this podcast. It was so 80s that I got a little like stuck with it, you know? But anyway. Youngblood.
All right, Youngblood.
And that is it for us and for this episode of Old Roommates. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe to Old Roommates on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and wherever you listen to podcasts. And give us a rating or review while you're there, please.
If you have an idea for the show or a suggestion or comment, you can email us at oldroommatespod@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Old Roommates. This is Christina.
And this is Brian.
Thanks again for listening. Until next time.